Hello, my name is Marlene Rose from Smögen's Kayak. Today I'm just going to have a small walkthrough what's good to know when you paddle with us. If you have used our self-service or to-go service, you have received a code within your booking confirmation, and that's the code you use for open up the kayaks and the shelter. When you have picked up your kayak, you put it here on the wood and not on the gravel, because if you place it on the gravel it might get broken. So just put it on the wood. I'm going to start with the outside of the kayak. All our kayak models have a rudder in the back, and they are fastened with a strap, so you can start with loosen that. Also make the rudder point upwards. That's because we later on want to adjust the footrests, and then it could be good to press the pedals to make sure you reach in a good way. So put it upwards, that's a good start. We also have pack openings on the kayak. We have a big one in the back and a bit smaller one in the front. The big one in the back can be a bit tricky to close and it's very important that you close it completely. So start in the back and press the top over, and then walk around all the way and make sure it's totally closed. That's very important for the safety. The one in the front, who is completely round, it's easier to close. Just press on the outside and it will close. You also have a one just in front of the cockpit, and this opening you can reach from the cockpit when you paddle. Here you can put your water bottle, sunglasses, things that you want to reach when you paddle. It's not completely water protected, so if you have like a phone who is not water protected, you use a dry bag or something to make sure it's not break if you fall into the water. On the side here you have the rudder adjustment. This one you can use for putting in the rudder and up the rudder from the water. So just take the ball in behind when you sit in the kayak and press it forward. That makes the rudder go in or out of the water. You can see that we have some tape here. It's supposed to be there because you don't want to have the rudder fixed, because then you can't use the pedals inside, and if the lines here get stuck into it, you won't be able to use the rudder. So just leave the tape here. It's supposed to be there. We have a seat inside, and this one is possible to adjust. You have straps back here behind the back. You can use them to straighten up your sitting, and also you have one here also for tighten up the back. Inside we have two pedals. We have the footrest and also the pedal for the rudder, and I'm going to show you inside how it works. This is how the kayak looks inside, and now I'm going to show you how it works and how to adjust it. At the bottom you have a footrest. That's a fixed footrest where you put your feet when you paddle. If you have chosen to put your rudder into the water, you can use the pedals on top to make it turn. You need of course to paddle in the same time, and if you press the right side it goes right, and if you press the left pedal it goes left. To make the correct position, you sit up straight and you have your knees leaning outwards on the side of the kayak, and then your feet is on here, and make the top of your feet, almost your toes, are on this pedal. To make it come closer or farther away, you unlock it. You unlock by twisting this one. Then you can see the tags going inside. Use your hand to move it, and then when you have the right position you lock it again. And if it's not possible to lock, that means that you are not in the hatch, so you need to move just a small bit, and then it's possible to lock. So unlock, move and lock, like this. You will have some equipment when you paddle with us, and I'm just going to show you the different equipments and how it works. I start with the paddle. We have aquabound paddles, and they are possible to change. From our standard, it's right hand adjustment for it, but you can also make it straight or for left hand. And when I say right hand, I mean that on your right side. When you can read the sign, the text, you have the start position. You grip from the top, a little bit wider than the shoulders, and then when you paddle, you put the paddle into the water quite in front of you, in the top of the cockpit, and then press backwards. And also make sure the whole body, upper body, twists with you. So you use your stomach and your back. So twist your upper body. Make a small gear movement, like you're giving gear on a motorcycle, like this, a small one, and then you will have the right blade in position. And put it into the water. Straighten up, right side, do a small gear movement, and left side. All the time you're using your upper body and the big muscle groups in stomach and back. Try to avoid just using your biceps. That will make you tired quite fast. Paddling in the sea can be a bit heavy for some people, and it's not like being in a lake or a river. So you need to use your big muscle groups not to get tired too fast and have more fun during paddling. You will also have a paddle leash. This one is if you drop your paddle, maybe when you go into the water or out or fall into the water. This one you fasten in the kayak line. That you can do when you are in the water. You will also have this. It's called chapel or cover. I say cover today. This one is wind and water protection. Inside here you have a line, and it's supposed to go around the cockpit. It's an edge here. So you start in the back and walking forward, and you always stop with the blue strap here visible, because if you fall into the water, it might be that this one is not loosening, and then you need to release yourself by pulling this. If you use the chapeau and fall into the water, we cannot be absolutely sure that this is loosening, so you need to be prepared for releasing yourself by pulling the strap. If you want to avoid that, you can just put it on in the front. That will make you a bit wet, of course, because it's waves and it's splashing from the paddle and so. But if you have not been in a class, basic course of kayak, or tried the peer rescue or something before, we actually recommend you not to put the whole chapel around the cockpit, because you never know how you react when you fall into the water. So in that case, you haven't been in a basic class of kayak or tried to do a pair rescue in the water, just leave it to the back, or actually you can skip the whole thing. This is optional. It's just wind and water protection, and if it's summertime, it's hot in the water anyway, and sometimes in the summertime it's even too hot to have it on, because yeah, it's no wind inside, so you can skip it if you want to. But if you want to use it, you're supposed to put it on like this, and make sure it comes far up on your stomach. Otherwise you will sit on it when you go into the kayak. So high up, like this. Then you have, when you come into the kayak, it's easy to put it on. So you start in the back, walking all the way around, and leave this one visible, the blue strap. You will also have a life jacket. It's mandatory for all paddlers at Magnus Kayak Adventure. We have a lot of different models inside, different sizes, but all of them have the same adjustments. You have straps on the top, on the side, and underneath. The most important is that you should not be able to pull the life jacket over your head when you are finished. So don't forget the strap in the bottom. That's the most important one. And make sure you can do tighten up here on the sides as well. So now it's sitting quite fast and also comfortable. Perfect. You will also have an nautical map. In Sweden we have something called the right of public access, and that makes it possible to actually, you can go into the land everywhere in the archipelago. But we have some golden rules. It's do not destroy anything or don't disturb. So if it's a house or property somewhere, you should not go up at that place, of course. But if you're on an island, there's nobody there, no birds, no animals, it's okay for you to actually go up there. It's very important because we have nature protected areas outside here to never leave any rubbish. If you find any rubbish, bring it with you back to the kayak center and put it in a rubbish can. On the nautical map, we have pointed out some good places where to go up to have a coffee, a swim, rest, and also different trails to get there. So this one you will also have with you when you rent kayak with us. You will also have a pump with you in the kayak. It's one per party, so one per group, and it's used to empty the kayak of water. So you put the short side, the long side here into the cockpit, and the water comes out here. That can be good. Sometimes if you leave the kayak on the beach, there comes boats and the waves are splashing into the kayak. It might be that the sponge is not enough. Then you can use the pump. You will also have a sponge with you. And also if you maybe fall into the water, it can be good to use this one to empty the kayak of water. And when we are speaking about falling into the water, I can explain the peer rescue. If you haven't been in a basic class of kayaking or tried peer rescue in the water, we do recommend you to attend to a basic class. It's a very good thing to try and makes it much more safe to paddle. To actually try how and also know how you react if you fall into the water. So, but I'm just going to give you a small explanation how to get some person up of the water when you are paddling. To start with, you should always be at least 2 persons. It's much more safe to be 2 persons or more in a group. So avoid paddling alone. That's the best rescue tips. And then perhaps something happens. Someone falls into the water. The first thing you should, and the whole group should be aware of, is that the person gets out of the kayak. If you see someone fall into the water, you start paddling towards that person, of course, immediately. And in the meantime, you can start counting for yourself. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At that time, you should be by the person's side, because you should always keep the group quite tight together. And if the persons are not out of the kayak when you reach 5, you release yourself and get into the water to help the person. But the person gets out of the kayak, it's in the water, you're sitting in your kayak waiting. The person in the water flips the kayak by pressing the edge. It's quite easily flipped around, and if you do it quick, it won't get that much water inside. If it's not too much water inside, you can start the rescue it immediately. But if it's too much water, it's no idea to try to climb up. It will get too shaky. So in that case, you need to empty the kayak. So the person sitting in a kayak can lift up the front of the other kayak and lift it up. Then the water will get out. When the water is out of the kayak, you put it on the opposite side of you, like this. You have the rear to the back to the front, and the back to the front. So you are on opposite sides. And the person sitting in the kayak is holding on the kayak for your friend. In that position, you are very stable, with 2 kayaks holding on to each other, super stable. The person in the water using a life jacket and floating quite high up. Starting to climb up on the back of the kayak, nose pointing to the rudder. Upward. When the chest is on the kayak, both feet goes into the cockpit, so you are lying on the kayak. Oops, like this. You're starting tilt it down, and when you are far down, you turn it on. And now you're sitting in the kayak. You can use the pump to get the water out of it. And you can start paddling again. Perhaps it sounds quite hard, but it's actually quite easy. When you are two persons, you are very stable together. I have seen young children holding on, or teenagers holding on to their fathers. It's no problem. But at least be two when you paddle. When you're back from paddling, you lift the kayak up of the water. You can put it on the gravel, it's okay, because you're not sitting in it this time. When you just make sure that you don't leave anything behind, so you open up all the pack openings, and also in the life jacket you have a pocket, and also in front of the cockpit. Make sure that you empty everything, and also make sure all the lids are closed. So all those are closed. You can also put the rudder down and fasten the string. You can also use the sponge to get rid of sand, seashells, other things from your paddle tour. Make it nice to next person to have it. You can put the kayak back on the stand with the cockpit down and all the equipment inside the shelter. And then you are finished. So, and we hope that you had have a wonderful paddle adventure in the archipelago of Smögen. Thank you very much, that's all from me.